If you're thinking about moving and you want to learn about what everyday life is going to be like in your new town, this is the place for you. On Open House, we sit down with local, top producing real estate agents to help you find the best places to live in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you don't want buyer's remorse and you want to find your dream town, we are here for you. So go ahead and book a free call with us and we'll help guide you to the area that is right for you. Now, let's jump in and learn about your new home.
Hi, my name is Mike with Open House, and if you're ready to take a deep dive into what it's like to live, work, and play in Reston, Virginia, then you found the right video because I have Hale with me, and she's a licensed real estate agent in the area who knows all the ins and outs of the city and is ready to help us see it from a local's perspective. So, Ann, how long have you been a realtor?
I've been licensed for about 5 years now, but I've been doing real estate for a long time because I am a personal investor. So I used other agents during that time period, but then I decided that, hey, I really like helping other people find the house of their dreams or help them sell if they're moving out of the area or relocating.
And that's what kind of got you into real estate was
Yeah, I just decided that it was going to be fun, and I was retired from Northrop Grumman, and I decided, yeah, I will help people buy and sell because that is one of hobbies and my loves.
How long have you lived in Reston?
I started living in Reston. I've been in Reston for over 15 years. I've lived all over the Northern Virginia area, but I settled pretty much for the longer period of time in Reston. It is a planned community. It was developed in 1964 by a gentleman called Robert E. Simon. His initials are in the town, R-E-S town, Reston.
One of the more creative naming conventions I've ever heard.
Exactly. And he had a vision that he was going to change the suburbs. And he purchased a large tract of land. And he surrounded himself with architects and planners and determined that he was going to build something that was unusual and a place where people would want to live and work and play. I think for the large part, is very successful, and it's very popular today with a wide range of people.
So he kind of came in with a vision of what he wanted from the area.
Yeah, he did, and it has grown from there. And of course, we now have a metro, and that metro brings in a lot of people, brings in a lot of industry. But Reston is still a place where people live and work and play. There's a lot of green space. There's a lot of different types of housing in all price ranges. That was one of the concepts of Robert E. Simon, is that it would be affordable to all, that there would be a lot of green space. There's a lot of walking trails. There's a lot of pools and tennis courts. There's 2 golf courses. One's public, one's private.
So it's obviously a budding community, and that's inevitably going to happen to kind of anything within that vicinity of DC as well. That's obviously because I'm sure there's a lot of commuting going on there.
Yes, a lot of people commute to Arlington and down in DC still. Before the metro, they had bus service that would go to the Pentagon and go downtown, making it easy for people to commute. And now with the metro and the bus service, it's a lot easier for people to commute downtown if they want to. But a lot of businesses are out here in Reston. I mean, it's a tech corridor, as is Sterling is becoming a tech corridor now too. But Reston started it. Microsoft and Northrop Grumman and AOL and some of the other large tech companies are still in Reston today.
Yeah, I've noticed it's kind of a thing where, because obviously from a family's perspective, it's you like to, okay, I'm going to work in the city, but I want to be able to come home to, my slice of the world, my peace and quiet. And I've kind of noticed that happen with corporations and companies as well, almost, because they realized, like, well, why be in DC? We can be outside of DC, and things are going to go the same way. And so you see a lot of these larger companies kind of installing areas and in smaller areas, kind of surrounding the larger, like, DC.
Yes, for sure. In other words, the suburbs became urbanized to a certain degree. We have the town center in Reston. I mean, Lake Anne was the original town center, and that's where it all started in '64. And then later, in 1990, the larger town center, what we know as the town center today, started. A lot of businesses and mixed use development was there. People lived there in condos and townhouses surrounding the town center. And
So,
they live, work, and play right there. They don't really have to commute very far.
so the that probably lends itself to having a pretty diverse cross section of house types, housing types, from your condos, from your single families in that area.
Yes, like I said, one of the goals of this planned community was that it be affordable to all. You have apartments, you have affordable housing units, you have condos, townhouses, single families. The condos are in low rises, high rises, almost any type of development you want, small, medium, and large. The townhouses, a lot of the communities, especially around Lake Anne, were architect design communities. So they were designed with some thought into having your own little section of green space, your privacy, so they're not on top of each other. Some of them are staggered. They're in circles sometimes, or half circles. Simon had been to Europe a lot, and he visited a lot of small towns in Europe. So he brought some of those European concepts back to Reston, and he interviewed and hired several architects to build some of these, we call them clusters. And Golf Course Island is a big cluster that was built around the private golf course in Reston off of North Shore and Lake Stry. That was built with the aim that everyone was going to look out onto green space, and the townhouses were staggered so that everybody had their own slice of privacy. They didn't look right onto the deck of another person or right in their next door neighbor's window.
It gives kind of a unique feel to an area, where I think a lot of cities can kind of feel a bit cut and paste, but obviously when you have someone who came into it with that level of forethought, there's going to be more of a personality to it, almost, where there's that uniqueness,
Well, for sure, that's where history comes in, and that uniqueness is what people want today. They don't want necessarily the cookie cutter. They want something that's unusual and livable. And because a lot of these units are architect designed, they are very livable. They make a lot of use out of some small footprints. So it keeps the affordability. It just makes it more affordable to all. I think some of these townhouses, they started back in the 60s at $35,000 for a townhouse, and that was considered high back then. That was considered high and unaffordable by a lot of people. Well, now those same townhouses, they're going for $550,000, $600,000.
It's still considered unaffordable by some people.
Still considered unaffordable, you're right. Especially the last 2 years. I saw price increases that was astronomical all over. But Reston, yeah, it was a very popular area to move into for sure. The average age is about 40, and the average income is about 120,000 household income for Reston.
For me, and obviously any place in that proximity to some larger cities, you're gonna see those increases in values and such, because I think people generally, as they get a little older, put a higher premium on their privacy and a higher premium on not living in the city, and so it makes sense that yeah, you're going to see a commensurate raise in those prices in the areas, because people don't want to necessarily be in DC. People like to come home. People like to have their peace and quiet. And Reston is a great spot for that, simply because of its distance.
Well, for sure. I mean, a lot of different areas in the Northern Virginia area are like that, but because Reston's a planned community, you're not going to see development just pop up anywhere, because Fairfax County and Reston, they're very particular about what goes on. There were some developers that wanted to develop the 2 golf courses, and absolutely they did not get anywhere. They may eventually, but right now they're not being developed, and they're not going to be in the near future.
Which is a good thing from the perspective of someone who lives there, because you want to keep that personality, right. that kind of niche, like, this is our area. And as soon as you let those type of things start to happen, well, then it's just going to snowball at that point. And then you lose all the uniqueness that makes it such a cool place.
For sure. Another unique aspect of Reston is that the 3 large lakes, there's actually more lakes, but there are 3 recreational lakes that you can actually get your rowboat out on. You can actually put a little electric raft type boat on, that's unusual. And then there's a trail system that interweaves itself all around Reston. The blue trail, the orange trail, the purple trail. There's several of them, and they all connect and interconnect with the cross county trail and with the WNOD trail. So you can walk, you can bike, you can not, if you don't want to take public transportation with the buses or the metro. So it's a very walkable, livable area.
And that's a great thing, because people are putting a higher priority on, their activities. The what can I do in the area? Is there something to do in the area? And between hiking and, like you said, with the lakes, like, that's a good thing to have at your disposal right around you.
Oh, for sure. That is the lakes are very unique as far as anywhere else in Northern Virginia. But and there's a lot of housing surrounding those lakes. You've got condos, you've got rentals, you've got townhouses, and you've got single families. Of course, you can imagine what the single families are being on the lake, but that's another affordability issue. Yeah. But you can have a really nice condo or a townhouse that is still relatively affordable on it. You can have the lake out your back door or within short walking distance. The shopping centers are nicely situated so that you can walk to the grocery stores or ride your bike to the grocery stores, which is another aspect that's difficult to find unless you're down in the Arlington area, the Boston, or down DC. It's nice not to have to get in your car and go for a quart of milk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So another thing that younger me wouldn't have put as much of a premium on, but older me definitely looks at it a lot differently now, is the educational system in an area for your kids. Obviously young me didn't have kids, so he said, whatever. Like, what do I care how good the schools are? I'm not going to it. So, but I understand that actually is something that factors in a lot when people are making these type of decisions to move to a place.
It does. And folks that are looking to buy, they really do need to scour the internet on the various websites and see how the schools rank. As a realtor, I can never advise people on that score, but for sure, Reston does have some of the top schools in the area. There's at least 5 that are listed as top elementary schools, and 1 or 2 middle schools, and 1 or 2 high schools. There's public, I think there's 40 some private schools to choose from. There's Montessori schools, and there's a wide range. And the most fun school architecturally, I think, is Terrasat. So it has a flat grass roof. So it's very green, and it was built with that in mind. And it's right off the walking path. So kids walk, for the most part, they can walk if they're in the surrounding neighborhoods. And it's quite nice to be out in the morning walking your dog, or just walking and enjoying the beautiful nature. that is all over Reston, and see all these kids with their little backpacks on walking to school. And they're walking to a school with a green roof. And I just think you're not going to find that anywhere else.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about, sometimes I really dread mowing my yard. I couldn't imagine having to mow my roof. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's really interesting. But again, and they have art projects in one of the lakes at Lake Thoreau. One of the schools does an art project every year, and they feature it on the spill well that's sitting in the lake. You have these big spill wells that sit out in the middle of the lake that control the water level of the lake. And in Lake Thoreau, every year, a school does an art project, and they feature that art project on top of that spill well. And that's
cool.
It's very cool. And you have a lot of art going on at Lake Anne. You can go down to Lake Anne and see the murals and a lot of interesting architecture down there, statues and whatnot, stairs that go nowhere. And I mean, it's just very, very interesting architecture wherever you look. And
So
that makes it unique.
What about when it comes to the entertainment side of Reston, your restaurants, bars, the wineries, distilleries, and the like? I'm assuming, given the fact that it is such a budding community, probably has a lot of locally owned options available to you in those departments.
Oh, yes, definitely. You've got the big chains and you've got the small mom and pops, and you've got, coffee shops, you've got sandwich shops, you've got taco places, you have the nice restaurants. There's a wide variety. The town center has a lot to choose from. Lake Anne has a lot to choose from, as well as South Lakes. I mean, there's almost every cuisine imaginable. There's several restaurants in the town center that are hopping for happy hour. There's meet and greets that happen consistently. So if you're coming in new to the area, you have no problem joining a meet and greet, meeting new people, developing new friendships with the age group. I mean, it's about split 50-50, I think, in gender wise, and it's very culturally diverse.
That's a fun thing to especially with moving to an area and being not familiar with things. It's good to be able to kind of hop in and find something that gives you that that almost sense of community when you go into an area. Like I know for me personally, I want to find the local spot. I want to find the place that people go, who have lived here for 15 years, and they know, like, no, you don't go there, you go there. Like, and that's always kind of, to me, the fun part about kind of exploring a city.
There's a lot to do. The options are limitless, really. The bars are nice, especially in the town center, where they spill out into they have outside eating, and they have happy hours, and you can find almost anything you want.
That and another thing is your proximity to other locations. It's kind of it's a cool thing because everything is at your fingertips. If you wanted to take a shot into, it's right there, even though you're probably not going to want to do that all the time. But it's one of those, like, the options are there for you. And that's kind of, I've always enjoyed living kind of big city adjacent, where I can get all the things that I want out of my smaller town living, so to speak, but have the options to use the city as I see fit, for entertainment and the like.
Well, you can certainly do that in Reston, for sure. A lot of people go downtown for the theater. We do have local theater at the Reston Community Town Center, which is interesting. And there's wonderful movie theaters if you like to go to the movies. But downtown is very accessible through the metro now. You just jump downtown and do anything you want down there, and then come back and live in Reston.
Is there anything in the kind of local events department that go on? And I'm sure there's probably X number of festivals and the like.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's always something going on at the town center. During the summer, there's a free music venue that's now at the Metro Center. It used to be down at the Pavilion and the Town Center, but they moved it to the Metro. They have bands every Friday night for June, July, and August. It's free to anybody that wants to enjoy it. Just show up. And there's dining there in the Metro area, and so there's biking groups, and they do races periodically. There's running groups and they do races. The town center hosts twice yearly an art event where the artists from all over, they set up tents and it's free. People walk around, and so that is a huge draw, and that usually happens in the town center a couple times a year. There's some fun fundraisers that will happen a couple times a year that people consistently go to. There are some interesting cultural activities that happen at Lake Anne once or twice a year, where it's like a cultural festival. There's Oktoberfest stuff going on all over the place, of course.
I mean, there's worse things to have than an Oktoberfest.
And then Halloween is the trick-or-treating events, for the kids. A lot of that is organized and structured. If you don't want to go in your neighborhood, there's some stuff like that going on.
So I think it feels like the area is very well fleshed out. There's always going to be something to do. There's always going to be that kind of personalized feel of the area, and there's always, the entertainment side is just there's a dirge of it, obviously.
Yeah, you can find anything you want, really. I mean, I've never had to go very far.
Yeah.
I stopped going downtown because everything that I wanted to do was right there. Theater, dancing, music, restaurants, bars, if you're into that scene. I mean, everything is just right there. Yeah. And I never had to go very far.
And that's always that's always the appeal,
Yeah. Yeah, you got the Feline Center, Wolf Trap, the Barnes Wolf Trap, which is like right next door to Reston. It's very easy to get to. And that, of course, they host all sorts of events all season long.
Wolf Trap's a great time. I've seen a lot of bands there.
Yeah. So everything is pretty readily accessible. If you want to go to Vienna, they have big events down there, which is just 15-20 minutes away. And if you are interested in going out towards Loudon, there's Leesburg and lots of things going on there. And then of course Sterling and Ashburn is the area where a lot of stuff is happening with One Loudon now that's a town center out in that area. So everything
you could kind of open up a map and treat it like a clock and just pick a place and just like, okay, we've been here, and then slowly progress your way around, because there's always going to be something around.
I assure you, there is no lack of things to do, really.
Yeah. So you'll at the very least have less of those, what do you want to do tonight conversations, which I personally dread.
Well, sometimes it's just to walk around the lake and stopping at the local bar to have a drink before you go home. I mean, that kind of is
there's something intrinsically cathartic about that,
Yes.
Just to go for a walk.
And if you're lucky, you'll get a band.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So if you could give a piece of advice to a buyer that's potentially thinking about moving to Reston, what would you say that advice would be?
Well, pick a realtor that understands Reston and that can guide them through the various communities that are available. Keep in mind that Reston is in and of itself an association, and within that association there are sub-associations. So your realtor needs to understand how those associations work. And it's very important to choose wisely in a location that's the most affordable to the new buyer, because if they're not planning to stay there for 20 years, like most people in this area is transient, 7 to 10 is when they move on. You need to understand what the resale is going to look like. So choose a realtor that understands the area, that understands the different products that are available in the area, and that can help you wade through the various decisions about location in particular. And then once you have that location set, the realtor needs to watch the market very, very closely to jump on anything that comes on, because fast or slow moving market, there are certain communities in Reston that are always popular. It doesn't matter what kind of market you're in. And your
Excellent.
agent needs to be on top of that and look at it every single day. I
Yeah,
myself and what's going on in Reston daily. You know, I know what
it's one of those things where you need an advocate for you, you know,
you
and
do.
that,
You do, and somebody that has the time to work with you and understand your goals,
Yeah.
and try to get at least 80% of your goals met. I mean, you may not get 100 because that's just not the way things work right now. It's, you know, it's what you can get, not so much what you want.
Yeah.
But a good realtor, call me, I'm available. Will help wade you through those various decisions, because it is a big decision. I mean, this is a huge investment.
100%. Yeah. All right. Well,
And
I'd like to thank you for being here today. So if you're thinking about moving to Reston, then please see our contact information below the video and ask for Ann, and we'll get you in touch with her so that she can facilitate you getting the house that you desire, but also can afford. And thank you so much for being here.